Hi, this is Justin Lawrence from Lawrence and Associates, and I'm here with Marisa Dyson, another attorney from Lawrence and Associates. Today we're going to talk to you about Ohio workers' compensation, and specifically we're going to talk about what types of benefits an injured worker might be able to expect from an Ohio workers' compensation claim. We're going to do that by talking about three very common scenarios that arise during a workers' compensation claim. So Marissa, for the first scenario, let's assume that the injured worker has just gotten hurt, they may or may not have gone to their first doctor's appointment yet, and they know that they're going to be missing some time from work. What types of benefits should that injured worker expect through the Ohio workers' compensation system?
In Ohio, there are several types of benefits that you might get in that scenario. First of all, if you get your claim allowed and you have to miss time from work 8 days or more because of your injury, you can expect to get something called temporary total disability. Temporary total disability means that you cannot work at all for a temporary amount of time. During that time, you'll likely get 2/3 of either your full weekly wage or your average weekly wage. The first 12 weeks is 2/3 of your full weekly wage, and after 12 weeks is 2/3 of your average weekly wage. Another benefit that you'll get is that your medical treatment, once your claim has been allowed, will be paid for through the Bureau of Workers' Compensation. Then, at the very end of your claim, once you've reached something called maximum medical improvement, you can expect to get a whole person impairment rating. This whole person impairment rating will be calculated out, and that will come to a sum of money that will be given to you to compensate for the impairment that you will continue to experience after the claim.
And it sounds like you touched on the next scenario that we want to talk about. So for the next scenario, let's assume that an injured worker has just been told by his or her doctor that they don't need to treat anymore. Once the injured worker doesn't need to treat anymore, the doctor says that they're going to be able to go back to work, although maybe not at the same job they had before they got injured. In that scenario, what should an injured worker expect the Ohio workers' compensation system to provide for him or her?
Typically, there's a couple different types of compensation that you can expect to get. The first one, like I already talked about, is whole person impairment. And this is when you get a certain sum of money for any ongoing impairment that you will experience as a result of this workplace injury. Additionally, if you go back to work and maybe you're in a light duty capacity, or maybe you're in a capacity where you're just not making as much money as you did before, Ohio workers' compensation has something called working wage loss. With working wage loss, the Bureau of Workers' Compensation will actually help supplement your income to bring you closer to what you were earning previous to the injury. Last but not least, if you are someone who was injured quite severely and you have qualified for vocational rehabilitation, during that time you can receive something called maintenance. Maintenance is just like temporary total disability, but it has a different name. It means that you're getting a paycheck while you're working on being rehabilitated so that you can get back to work.
So let's talk about a third scenario, Marissa. Let's assume that, as we sometimes know happens, the workplace injury is so severe that the injured worker ultimately dies as a cause of the injuries. So if an injured worker dies related to the workplace injury, what kind of benefits can the injured worker's family expect?
In this unfortunate scenario, there are still some remedies for the surviving family members of the injured worker. First of all, if any medical bills were incurred as a result of the injury, those medical bills should be paid for through the Bureau of Workers' Compensation. Additionally, if that injured worker had any dependents, they can also receive ongoing compensation to make up for the loss of income of the person who had been providing for them. And then last but certainly not least, injured workers are entitled to get $5,000 towards their funeral expenses if they should die on the job.
If you have any other questions about the types of benefits that are available to you if you've been injured on the job in Ohio, you can visit our website at www.lawrencelaws.com or call one of our attorneys for a free consultation.